They mocked Filipinos' English until a public debate silenced them.
They said it wasn't real English. They said it was awkward, funny, broken, and strange. They said Filipino kids, students, even professionals, could never speak the language correctly. And for years, many believed them. It started with the comments, the snide remarks online, hidden behind keyboards and screens, the whispers in hallways, the chuckles during presentations, the smirks at the airport, at cafes, on video calls. They said, Filipinos, they can't speak proper English. And some, deep down, began to doubt. But what they didn't know
is that every mockery, every insult, every laugh,
it was just waiting to meet its match.
It all began in a small classroom in Manila. A group of students were preparing for something that most people in their country had only heard about in whispers and stories. A national debate competition. A stage where words mattered, where intellect shone.
Where people from different countries and cultures would gather to challenge ideas, test reasoning, and show mastery of communication.
Among them was Miguel. Miguel wasn't the most confident speaker in his class. In fact, if you asked him 2 years earlier, he might have said he hated speaking English. But something had changed. He had discovered that English wasn't just a subject in school. It wasn't just grammar rules or vocabulary lists. English was a weapon, a shield, a way to speak with power, to make people listen. And Miguel wasn't alone. He had friends.
Maria, whose words were sharp and clear like a blade. Jamal, who could weave stories that painted pictures in your mind.
And little Anna, the youngest, who had a smile that could disarm anyone.
And the logic to back it up. Together, they were not just a team. They were a force ready to challenge the world. But outside their bubble of hope and preparation, the world continued to judge. Online, a foreign journalist made a video. He smiled condescendingly as he said, Filipinos think they speak English, but they don't. Listen to this accent. Listen to these words. It's amusing. The video went viral. Thousands of views, thousands of shares, thousands of laughs, and every laugh, every share added weight to the doubt.
Even Miguel saw it. Even his friends felt the sting. They knew that people didn't see them as equals. They didn't see them as intelligent, capable, or articulate. They saw them as a punchline, a joke.
And yet, there was fire inside them. Because Miguel and his friends understood something important. English was not their enemy. Mockery was not their end. This was their moment. The debate was set. A prestigious stage in Singapore, where teams from all over Asia would compete.
Miguel's team was nervous. Their opponents,
confident, well-trained,
fluent, native speakers. The kind of people who didn't just speak English, they owned it.
On the day of the debate, the air was thick with tension. You could feel it in the auditorium. The seats were packed. Cameras rolled. Judges whispered among themselves, and in the middle of it all, Miguel and his team waited, hearts pounding, palms sweaty. The topic was announced. Education systems should prioritize creativity over memorization. Simple words, but simple words could ignite storms. The first speaker from the opposing team took the stage. Polished, smooth, confident, they argued aggressively, speaking quickly, throwing big words that Miguel barely recognized. The audience nodded, the judges jotted notes. Everything seemed against the Filipino team. Miguel's turn came. He stood, took a deep breath, and looked out at the crowd. He remembered the mocking comments, the jokes, the video that went viral, the whispers that said Filipinos couldn't speak real English. And then, something shifted inside him. A calm determination, a quiet power. Ladies and gentlemen, Miguel began.
His voice was steady, even though his heart raced. We are often told that our English is not good enough, that our words are funny, awkward, or broken. But let me ask you something.
Is English merely about sounding like someone else?
Or is it about making your thoughts, your ideas, and your truths heard?
A pause. The room was silent. You could hear a pin drop. Miguel continued. English, like any language, is a bridge to understanding.
And if our bridge carries our ideas across, if it allows our stories, our reasoning, our dreams to travel beyond borders, does it matter if our accent isn't perfect?
The audience shifted. The judges leaned in.
Even the opposing team looked unsettled. Maria took over. Her words were deliberate, precise.
She painted pictures with them.
She spoke of Filipino classrooms where students innovated despite limited resources, of communities where ideas flourished even without endless textbooks, of children who dreamed in English, Tagalog, and every dialect in between.
And creativity, she said, voice ringing like a bell, is not measured by accent. It is measured by thought, by logic, by courage to speak when the world doubts you.
Then Jamal spoke. His arguments were strong, evidence-based, passionate. He cited studies, statistics, and examples from history.
But it wasn't just his facts, it was the fire in his eyes, the confidence, the undeniable truth in his voice. Finally, Anna. She stood, small in stature, but enormous in presence. Her words were simple but piercing. "We may not speak like some expect," she said softly, "but we speak like who we are."
And who we are is capable, intelligent, and brave. We are Filipinos.
And we are here to show that the world's laughter will not drown our voice. By the time she stepped down, the auditorium was silent.
Not awkward silence, reverent silence.
A silence that said, "We underestimated them."
Then the questions came from the judges. Tricky ones, sharp ones, designed to trip them up. But Miguel's team answered calmly, confidently.
They didn't stumble. They didn't panic. Each answer was a statement, a proof that they were worthy of respect. When the debate ended, the room erupted.
Not with the usual polite applause, but with a standing ovation. People cheered, clapped, whistled.
The Filipino team looked at each other, faces wet with tears, hearts full with pride. The opposing team, once smug and confident, sat speechless. Their mouths opened, closed, opened again, but no words came out. And in that moment, Miguel realized something profound. They hadn't just won a debate.
They had dismantled a stereotype.
They had silenced the mockery. They had proven once and for all that English is not owned by any one nation, any one accent, or any one set of rules. It was their voice, their English, their truth. Later, when the results were announced, Miguel's team had not just won, they had made history.
They were celebrated, newspapers ran stories.
Videos of their performance went viral. People who had once mocked them were now sharing their speeches, not to laugh, but to marvel.
Miguel's mother watched from home.
She had cried silently when she first saw the mocking video online.
But now, she cried tears of joy.
She saw her son, her children, showing the world that dignity, intelligence, and courage cannot be measured by accent. Back in the Philippines, friends and classmates cheered. Social media paused, and slowly, the narrative changed.
Filipinos can't speak English became Filipinos are eloquent, capable, and persuasive. Don't underestimate them.
But what made this victory even more powerful wasn't just the words. It was the journey. The late nights of practice, the self-doubt, the courage to face ridicule, the unity of a team determined to prove that the world was wrong.
Miguel often thought back to the foreign journalist who had laughed. He imagined him watching the debate, jaws dropping, eyes widening, perhaps thinking, "I misjudged them."
And yes, maybe he did.
Maybe everyone who had ever mocked them did. But Miguel learned something even greater. Mockery is temporary. Doubt is fleeting, but courage is forever.
And when you speak with truth, with heart, and with skill,
the world will listen.
Years later, Miguel would be invited to speak at conferences.
Universities would ask him to lecture. Students from all over Asia would write him, asking for advice.
And every time, he would smile, remembering the debate that changed everything.
He would tell them, "They mocked our English. They laughed at our accent.
But we didn't stop speaking. We didn't let fear control us. We prepared, we practiced, and we spoke."
And in the end, they were silenced, not by anger, not by retaliation, but by truth, by our words, by our courage,
by our voice. And indeed, the message spread far beyond that auditorium.
It became a story told to every Filipino child who feared speaking English,
to every student who doubted their ability,
to every person anywhere who had been told they weren't enough.
The story said, "Stand tall,
speak loud, your words have power,
and one day you will silence the world." Because mockery, after all, is weak, and courage
is unstoppable.
Even now, people still talk about the debate, about how a group of Filipino students once laughed at, stood on the world stage, and proved that language is not about perfection. It's about heart, logic, passion, and the courage to speak when everyone expects you to stay silent. And the world listened. Yes, they mocked Filipinos' English until a public debate silenced them.
Until every laugh turned into respect. Until every doubt turned into admiration. Until every sneer turned into awe. And the lesson is clear. Never let anyone else define your voice.
Never let anyone else measure your worth.
And never, ever let their mockery stop you from proving them wrong.
Because one day, your words will speak louder than their laughter.
And maybe,
Just maybe,
the world will finally hear you.